Hello everybody, I'm Grant Fluff from Fletcher Sports Zone and welcome back to another YouTube video. And today we are going to be reacting to a list that my buddy TNT Takes made on his Instagram page. I asked him if I could react to his list live on YouTube and he said he was fine with it. So without further ado, we are going to react to every NFL team's most overrated player. Now, this is according to him, and I'm basically just going to go through, agree with him, disagree with him. I think this will be a lot of fun. This is something I've kind of wanted to do for a while, and since an Instagram account that I've been following for a while actually made this, I was finally like, ooh, let me ask, let me see if I can. So let's get into it, all right? First off, we have the AFC North. Now, I'm not going to really go through every player like I was originally planning on doing so. So we're just going to begin with the AFC North here. Jerome Bettis, I pretty much agree. I guess I'll go through every player, but some will obviously be longer than other explanations. Jerome Bettis, I kind of agree. I know he's somewhere in the top 12 in rushing yards ever by NFL running backs, but at the same time, he was just a great power back who played in the power back era in the early 2000s NFL, right? Even in his 2005 playoff run where the Steelers, he fumbled at the 1 yard line that divisional game against Indianapolis, right? If the Colts win that game, he does not win a Super Bowl. So I do think Best is a little overrated. Great player, definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but a little overrated. I do agree. Torrey Smith, the Ravens must have been a tough one because obviously you're not going to say someone like Ray Lewis or Ed Reed or Justin Tucker or whatever. You're not going to say like they're overrated. You're saying Lamar Jackson's overrated is just crazy. You can say Joe Flacco, but like, is he really? I feel like people know other than that 2012 and like 2014 season, he was pretty, average at quarterback. Torrey Smith is an interesting one. You did have quite a bit of receiving touchdowns before eventually joining the 49ers, but I know he was pretty good, but I really don't know if I would disagree with that either. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if I would. I mean, I would say Ray Rice primarily because, well, he basically threw his career out the window. Ray Rice, real quickly, we'll just take a look at his stats. Yeah, 3-time Pro Bowler, over 6,000 yards and 37 touchdowns. But I feel like people know that Ray Lewis was a quality player up until that incident. So Torrey Smith isn't a bad answer either. Ickey Woods for the Bengals, okay? This one is a little interesting. The Ickey Shuffle, right? Yeah, we're going to do the Ickey Shuffle. Listen, good running back in the late 80s, but he is a little bit overrated. I get he was primarily remembered because of his little touchdown dance, in which that's all fine and dandy, but I do agree in the late 90s it was a little overrated. Remember, he did score 15 touchdowns his rookie year and just over 1,000 yards, but that wasn't even good enough for a Pro Bowl appearance. So I do kind of sort of agree with this one. Maybe I would go with someone like Adam Pac-Man Jones for the Bengals, but I feel like that would be a stretch considering he only played on Cincinnati. Oh, he did play on Cincinnati for 8 years. But, yeah, he was a great punt returner, and he was also a lockdown corner for the most part. Yeah, 12 interceptions probably wouldn't have been the wisest idea to put Adam Jones in that spot. I mean, A.J. Green, Chad Ochocinco, no. Joe Burrow, no. You can't really put any of the young players on here anyways, like Burrow or Chase anyway, because we've only seen 1 or 2 years out of him, and they've been incredible so far. For the Browns, for Joe Thomas, I felt like he could have found someone better for Joe Thomas. I understand his reasoning because, he was a tackle who never missed a snap, and then once he got injured, he never came back. I kind of, probably that was his reasoning, and I kind of understand that reasoning, but I would have probably gone more towards Paul Warfield, who I know he was pretty good on the Browns. In 8 seasons in Cleveland, he had over 5,000 receiving yards and 52 touchdowns. But I'm going to be real with you. once he went, so he went to Cleveland, went to Miami, won 2 Super Bowls, and then came back to Cleveland to finish off his career. In a way less amount of time span in Miami, Warfield had over 3,300 yards and 33 touchdowns. So yeah, Paul Warfield's great. Again, 100% deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He's not the most overrated Miami Dolphins player, but for Cleveland, I would kind of lean towards him. I mean, it's tough to say, really, but I don't think it's Joe Thomas. I would hate to even say it, but Joe Hayden could be another option. Let's just quickly take a look at Joe Hayden's stats here. Not again that he was overrated. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler. Yep, all three were actually made 2 with the Browns. In 7 years, he had 19 interceptions. Kind of like Adam Pac-Man Jones. It would be kind of stupid to call him overrated because he was just consistently one of the better corners in the league during his prime. So I'd probably go with Paul Warfield over Joe Thomas. All right, moving on to the AFC East. Julian Edelman. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Yes, 100%. I've said it in my Hall of Fame or Hall of Good video already. Julian Edelman, great playoff performer, but has damn near 0 regular season stats to back up his playoff statistics. He had 36 receiving touchdowns and just over 6,000 yards, never made a Pro Bowl, won a Super Bowl MVP, good for him. But again, when you're comparing a Hall of Fame career, you got to look at regular season statistics along with, he also played in the playoffs a lot. He was pretty good, but you got to look at regular season statistics, and he lacks that. If he had about 8,000 receiving yards and like 45, 50 touchdowns with his current, playoff statistics, yeah, I'd say he's a Hall of Famer, but definitely not now. I know there was reports of him coming out of retirement a few weeks ago, but let's be real, he's not going to. Andre Reed's a weird one for me because, I mean, obviously I didn't grow up watching the Bills, in the 80s and 90s, but I do know he was very good. I mean, over 13,000 receiving yards and 86 regular season touchdowns. That is a little, I think, harsh to call him overrated because he really is the best Bills receiver in history. As much as I hate to say this, Ryan Fitzpatrick could have been a very good player to put here for Buffalo. People think he's better than guys like Joe Ferguson and whatnot, which, I mean, he's just not. 20-33 record, 11,000 passing yards, 80 touchdowns to 64 interceptions. I mean, yeah, he was good in Buffalo, and I love Ryan Fitzpatrick, don't get me wrong. He was the best on the Bills, out of the, 8, 9 teams he played on. He was the best in Buffalo, but I'd probably say Fitzpatrick for Buffalo. Mercury Morris, this is kind of another interesting one. I know he was, 70s, 80s. He was playing the backfield with Larry Zonka, and he made 3 Pro Bowls, over 4,000 yards. I feel like no one really brings up Mercury Morris that much. If anything, I think he's more underrated. The most underrated player in Dolphins history is without a question Zach Thomas. But I just want to quickly take a look at a couple of other Dolphin player stats here. I'm not saying necessarily, I was about to say Jason Taylor, maybe, but that would be kind of crazy. 13 years, 131 sacks in a Dolphin uniform. Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not Taylor. I'm trying to think of someone else right now off the top of my head. Because I feel like if you really look in depth, you could probably find someone that's a little bit more overrated than Mercury Morris. Again, he made 3 Pro Bowls, but it's not like he's on the verge of being a Hall of Famer or anything. So I don't necessarily agree with that one. The Jets, I kind of get where he's coming from because I myself have seen Darrelle Revis. How do I explain this? The younger generation thinks Darrelle Revis, not Terrell Davis, Darrelle Revis is better than guys like Deion Sanders. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You clearly just need to do just a little bit of research and you'll know who's the better out of the two. Revis, to call him overrated, I don't think so. Revis had a phenomenal career. 29 career interceptions, 7 Pro Bowls, Hall of Fame 2010's team. I would not call Revis overrated. I do think he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, which I think he's up for ballot next year. But anyway, Joe Namath is obviously my pick here. 27,000 passing yards, which is great. Again, I know he played in the 60s and 70s. He won a Super Bowl, all that good stuff. He's great. Made 5 Pro Bowls. Deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, sure. But 173 touchdowns to 220 interceptions. I get he has the statistics, at least passing yards wise, to be in the Hall of Fame. But I'm going to put it to you this way. You ask any person from New York who was living in the 50s through 90s, and they would tell you that Joe Namath was literally better than guys like Terry Bradshaw or Roger Staubach or, if you want to go the extra mile, someone like Joe Montana or Johnny Unitas, when that's just so incorrect on so many levels. Like, listen, I get Jets fans have absolutely nothing to be happy about, but oh my God, just stop overrating Joe Namath, the older generation. But then the younger generation thinks Joe Namath also sucks. So it's kind of in the mix. I would probably safely put Namath over Revis. Revis is a bit controversial, but yeah. All right, my beloved Jacksonville Jaguars, David Garrard. All right, well, thank you for not saying Jimmy Smith or Fred Taylor. David Garrard, though, really, I feel like people only remember Garrard for his Hail Mary in 2010 against Houston. Other than that, I really feel like no one really brings up Garrard ever. He made a Pro Bowl. He threw for over 16,000 yards and 89 regular season touchdowns. He also won a couple of playoff games, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, actually, no, he only won one. Yep, that was against the Steelers in the 2007 wildcard round before they lost to the undefeated Patriots. I gotta be honest though, most overrated player in Jaguars history. I know this might be a little bit of recency bias here, but I gotta go with AJ Boye on this one. Boye literally made a Pro Bowl and fell off the face of the planet. In 3 years, he had 8 interceptions and 175 tackles, which I know isn't terrible, but considering he had 6 interceptions in 2017, by far his best season ever. Just to follow it up with 1 interception in 2018 and in 2019, and then do literally nothing with the Broncos and Panthers the following 2 years, I got to lean towards AJ Boye here. Brian Cushing, I do agree. The Texans is kind of picky. You could say like Deshaun Watson, but why? Arian Foster, I think, is more underrated. Same thing with Andre Johnson. You can't really say them. Obviously, saying J.J. Watt would be stupid. Brian Cushing here makes sense. Tackling machine, but really doesn't have a lot of accolades. And I understand why he put Cushing there. Andrew Luck, I kind of agree with this one also. Again, it's pretty slim pickings with the Colts because you can't say Peyton Manning. You can't say someone like Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, all those guys are pretty much underrated. The Colts have also had a lot of really underrated defensive players, guys like Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, Bob Sanders. You can't say them. I'm just happy. And there's one thing I am happy about. He did not say Pat McAfee. And I would be wearing my For the Brand hoodie right now if he said Pat McAfee. I'm just so happy he didn't say McAfee. That's all I can say. Because when I was looking through this, I'm like, he could very well say the Colts for Pat McAfee. Because, a lot of media attention for a punter. He went from the NFL, doing his own podcast, and now he's, the color commentator in WWE. I was thinking, like, he was going to pick McAfee. He went with Luck. Yeah. It certainly makes sense why. Because he only played from 2012 to 2018. He only won, 4 playoff games? And 2 were against the Bengals, if I'm not mistaken. Made it to 1 AFC championship game, lost that. He only has 171 regular season touchdowns. Yeah, 4 playoff wins, 4-4 in the playoffs, just over 2,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. The guy was the definition of regular season player, but not a playoff performer. Lost to the Patriots twice in 2013 and 2014. And then 2012 lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion Ravens. And then his last year, of course, in 2018, before he retired, lost to the Chiefs in the divisional round. So yeah, not much there. Eddie George for the Titans. No, I don't think I agree with this one either. I honestly think it's Javon Curse, and that's gonna sound kind of crazy at first, but he made 3 Pro Bowls, and I understand his rookie season with 14 and a half sacks and 8 forced fumbles is incredible, but he really slowed down after his rookie season, all right? 3 Pro Bowls and 1 All-Pro. Again, very good. 1999 Defensive Rookie of the Year. Very good statistics, and he continued great success with the Eagles in his prime. But I know 52 sacks is not terrible. It's really not. But I think that is worse than what Eddie George done. Because I know I was doing Eddie George last week in my Hall of Fame or Hall of Good video. And I was saying how basically he belongs in the Hall of Fame by now. Yeah, I think 10,000 rushing yards is more impressive than 74 sacks. Well, I mean, I shouldn't really say that because, you're comparing running back statistics to defensive lineman statistics, and that gets all jumbled up. But I think most overrated defensive player, at least, is Javon Curse. Most overrated Titans player, it might be Eddie George. It may even be Earl Campbell if you want to go back in the Houston Oilers days. But he said George. I kind of disagree with that. AFC West, Christian Okoye, absolutely. Everyone thought Christian Okoye was this fantastic running back, and then Steve Atwater blew him up one day, and then he fizzled out of the league a couple years later. 100% agree with Christian Okoye. I actually agree with 3 out of the 4 here. Bo Jackson, absolutely. He's the thumbnail of this video, and I couldn't agree more. The guy played in, 38 career games? Everyone thinks this man is a Hall of Famer. Yes, he was great. Yes, he is the biggest what-if story of all time. Yeah, 38 career games. He didn't even break 3,000 rushing yards, 16 touchdowns, only 1 Pro Bowl. I know, I get it. He was an absolute monster on the field, but can we stop calling him an NFL legend? People on social media think Bo Jackson is a better running back all time than guys like Jerome Bettis, O.J. Simpson, Roger Craig. It's so stupid. Just stop overrating Bo Jackson, please. He only played in the league for 4 years. I know, I understand. He was a great player, but guess what? He was also an injury-riddled player. Injured his knee and transferred to baseball full-time. Great multi-sport athlete, absolutely. Probably the best ever, but just stop overrating Bo Jackson, please. In my opinion, he was a better MLB player than he was an NFL player. John Elway, 100%, 100%. I mean, I do think Elway is slightly overrated. People want to call him better than guys like Drew Brees, Brett Favre, and Dan Marino, and it gives me a headache. He's not. I get it. He won 2 Super Bowls last 2 years of his career. He beat the Packers, which that one was good. Primarily, though, Terrell Davis won the MVP of that game, keep in mind. But still, Elway played fine. Again, Elway played fine the year after in Super Bowl 34. Right? Or 33. 33, my bad. 33 against the Falcons. Yeah, they're literally playing the Falcons, and he did one thing that entire game, and that was throw a long bomb to Rod Smith for a touchdown. He had guys like Terrell Davis, Rod Smith, Ed McCaffrey, and Shannon Sharp. Those are on those Super Bowl winning teams. That's a lot of talent, not to mention great defenses. I do agree that LA is slightly overrated. Hall of Fame quarterback? Absolutely. But Broncos have had a lot of underrated players in their careers. I mean, guys like Carl Mecklenburg should be in the Hall of Fame and whatnot. If TNT takes 1 and 2, he could have put Tim Tebow on here. That would have been hysterical. But LA makes sense. Tebow would have also made sense. The one I don't agree with here is Darren Sproles. Great return man, but again, do people really overrate Darren Sproles? I feel like this is kind of like let me try to compare him to another player here that I was kind of disagreeing with. Oh, that was his other post, Baker Mayfield trade thoughts. I made that video last night. It's kind of like a Joe Thomas or like a Mercury Morris situation. Like, do I get why you're calling him overrated? Yeah, because he was so small. He was such an electric return man, but he really doesn't have a lot of accomplishments other than a bunch of Pro Bowls. I get it, but yeah, to call him overrated, I don't know. I think right now I got to go with Charlie Joyner. Let me just quickly take a look here. Yeah, three-time Pro Bowler is a bit low, but he does have 12,000 receiving yards. Okay, maybe not. Let's take a look at Dan Fouts here. I think Fouts is a little overrated too. Yeah, I maybe would have went with Fouts here because I know 43,000 yards is a lot, and I get that for especially for the 70s and 80s. But 254 passing touchdowns to 242 picks. I probably would have went with Fouts over Sproles. At least that's just my opinion because Sproles, I just want to quickly take a look at his return statistics here. Sproles, over 7,000 yards in terms of rushing and receiving, and he had over almost 3,000 career punt return yards and over 8,000 kick return. Yeah, that's over 17,000 total yards roughly? Yeah, I put Fouts over Sproles there. Lions, Roy Williams, I don't really disagree with that. Again, the Lions just had a lot of like whatever players. I would have maybe put Billy Sims here because it's kind of one of those things where, if Sims never got injured, he would have been great. But people think Sims was literally like how am I trying to explain this? Billy Sims, over 5,000 yards and 42 touchdowns. A lot of people think Billy Sims is really good, is basically what I'm getting at. Whereas Roy Williams was also a decent receiver. He was kind of overrated. I think you could put Billy Sims in there as well, but that I'm just being picky of. Again, kind of being picky, but Kyle Rudolph, I feel like there's definitely other Minnesota players that are more overrated than Kyle Rudolph, if I got to be completely honest with you. Not that Rudolph was necessarily, underrated. I felt like he was the first few years of his career. Now, at this point, he's almost out of the league after he did next to nothing with the Giants last year. Again, I maybe go quarterback here and say Dante Culpepper. 149 touchdowns, 24,000 passing yards. He really did nothing after he left Minnesota. I probably would say Rudolph or Culpepper for my most overrated Minnesota player. Brett Favre, I agree with the Packers. It's kind of tough to put anyone else. Devin Hester for the Bears, no. I get why, because he's a special teams player, but no. That is 100% incorrect. I think, who am I thinking here? I think Dan Hampton. Let me just quickly take a look at Dan Hampton's career here. Yeah, 82 and a half sacks, 4 Pro Bowls. Obviously Dan Hampton was great, deserves in the Hall of Fame, but if he wasn't on that 85 Bears defense, was Dan Hampton a great player? Absolutely. But is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know. I'm just going to compare stats real quickly to Phil Hansen. He was another underrated player for Buffalo. But anyway, he had a little less amount of sacks. Never mind. I thought he had 81 career sacks, not 61. Never mind. So forget that. Dan Hampton, 82 career sacks. Impressive. He made the Hall of Fame in 2002, made the All-90s team. Again, great team, or All-80s team, rather, but yeah. I don't know. Number 1 defensive player, made 1 All-Pro. I'm going to get hate for basically saying a Hall of Famer is better than a return man. But I'm going to go with it. Dan Hampton, most overrated Bears player, in my opinion. All right. Commanders, Darryl Green. He played for a long time. He played from 1983 to 2002. So I kind of understand why he was going to essentially say Green is overrated. I don't necessarily agree, but I think it is. I just want to quickly take a look before I blurt out a name here, but I want to say, I was going to say Art Monk probably would have been the first overrated player that came to my mind. 12,000 receiving yards, though. How about John Riggins? 11,000 rushing yards. So I guess at the end of the day, maybe Darrell Green probably is. I don't know. Giants, Eli Manning, I agree. I think Eli's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but yeah. Is he overrated? Absolutely. Like, people think Eli is better than Phillip Rivers. I'm sorry, he's not. I mean, yeah, I get it. He had more playoff success, but in terms of just base statistics, and yeah, no. If you want actual quarterback, Eli Manning or Phillip Rivers, I think you're picking Phillip Rivers. Bob Lilly kind of surprised me when I saw this. Lilly in the 70s had 95 and a half sacks, and then I thought of another defensive end. I originally thought DeMarcus Ware, all right, but DeMarcus Ware, 138.5 career sacks. Yeah, no, not at all. So I was wrong on that one. However, I gotta go with Mel Renfro here. All right, 10 Pro Bowls, which I know is great, 52 interceptions. Again, I know it's great stuff here, but I do think Mel Renfro was slightly overrated than Bob Lilly, at least. Lilly was just a dominant pass rusher. Like, he was next to guys like Deacon Jones and like Ray Nitschke and like guys like Joe Green and Jack Lambert, you had Bob Lilly right on that list of just players you did not want to face, and one of the true hard-nosed football players that played like before the 80s, basically, before guys like Lawrence Taylor and Mike Singletary came around. So I'd probably put Mel Renfro for the Cowboys. Eagles, Ron Jaworski. Well, kind of, sort of. Let's see if I can kind of debate that. I mean, yeah, Ron Jaworski is a little bit overrated. He only had one Super Bowl appearance. Plus that, only made one Pro Bowl. Actually, I'm not even going to really argue that. Actually, I'll argue one. Hold on a second. Which I feel like I'm going to be wrong here. So, actually, maybe not. Jeremiah Trotter. Let's go out with Jeremiah Trotter for my most overrated Eagles player. The man had over 700 career tackles, actually over 900 career tackles. Incredible. But only 11 sacks in 116 games. For an outside linebacker. Yeah, I would expect him to have more than that, if I'm being brutally honest. Jaworski's also a little overrated. I'll go with Jeremiah Trotter, though. Let's stir the pot a little bit more here, shall we? All right. Buccaneers, Rondé Barber. No. I'll say Michael Pittman, probably, the running back they had. Because let me just quickly look at his statistics here. Pittman. For 6 years there, just over 3,000 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. He also had 2,000 receiving yards. Good statistics, of course, but yeah, no, I'd probably say he's overrated. And then we have quarterbacks the rest of the way. Archie Manning, Cam Newton, and Michael Vick. Agree pretty much. I feel like you could find maybe a more overrated player than Archie Manning, but I can't really think of one right now. Maybe Ricky Jackson. Let me just pull up his stats here. Ricky Jackson, 136 career sacks and over 1,000 solo tackles and 40 forced fumbles. Yeah, no. Archie Manning takes the cake there. Cam Newton for Carolina. Yeah, I mean, who else are you going to say? Steve Smith, Luke Kuechly? Come on here. Nope. Michael Vick, absolutely. My complaint with Michael Vick is I understand he was such a revolutionary player because, he was people are like, oh, Michael Vick was the first true scrambling quarterback. Have y'all ever heard of Randall Cunningham? But that's neither here nor there, whatever. Vick was better than Cunningham for the majority of, at least in the running department of his career. Better passer was Cunningham, but better runner was Vick. But yeah, Vick's overrated because people, just because of his pure talent, they call him a top 10 quarterback of all time. I genuinely know people who think Michael Vick is better than guys like John Elway, better than guys like Johnny Unitas, Steve Young, Fran Tarkenton. I'm like, bro, stop. You're giving me a headache. I get it. Revolutionary player. Great running quarterback. But, come on, man. You're going to call him better than passers who are literally in the Hall of Fame. 4 Pro Bowls, comeback player of the year in 2010. He also got suspended for a while. Don't keep that in mind. Pro Football Reference ranks him as the 61st best quarterback ever. And that's probably around where I would rate him as well. Michael Vick is so overrated, it's not even funny. He might be more overrated than Bo Jackson now that I'm thinking about it. I should have put Michael Vick on the thumbnail. But anyway, on to the NFC West, last division. All right, just looking at this, I don't agree with the 49ers and I don't agree with the Cardinals. Chris Long, I mean, the Rams is kind of slim pickings, and you can't really say a Hall of Famer for them. I mean, you could say someone like Isaac Bruce or Torrey Holt. No. Kurt Warner is a little overrated, but come on, man. He literally went from bagging groceries to winning a Super Bowl. I can't really call Kurt Warner overrated because of that. Chris Long, sure. Great edge rusher, but yeah, nothing too special there. He was pretty good in the 2010s, but what are you going to do there? Frank Gore, I understand why. I kind of can't really disagree with this either because there's just a lot of really good Hall of Famers San Francisco has and a lot of criminally underrated 49er players that aren't in the Hall of Fame that I think should be. Guys like Roger Craig and Gary Clark. So it kind of makes sense why Frank Gore is kind of the odd man out of the whole bunch here. It would have been funny if he said Kaepernick because that is also true. Kaepernick is wicked overrated. But again, Frank Gore, I think, was the safest call here. Richard Sherman is tough. I think we stay on the Legion of Boom, but I don't think it's Richard Sherman. I think it's Earl Thomas. 30 career interceptions, 7 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros. Obviously incredible. Let's take a look at Richard Sherman here. 37 interceptions, 5 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros, both members of the 2010 Hall of Fame team. I'll go with Earl Thomas instead of Richard Sherman. And lastly, Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah, because Fitzgerald played for a long time. I understand why. But I'm going to say Edgerrin James here for the Cardinals is the most overrated player in Cardinal history because he only played there for 3 years. Didn't even break 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns. And yeah, great player. Obviously deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but for the Cardinals, I will say Edgerrin James. Dare I say, is this where I can call Kurt Warner overrated? Let's take a look at his Cardinal stats, shall we? 5 years, 27-30 record, 15,000 passing yards, 100 touchdowns, 59 picks. For me, it's Warner or Edgerrin James. It's not Larry Fitz. I'm like a diehard Larry Fitzgerald fan also. So you'll never see me calling him overrated. So there you go. Again, shout out to TNT Takes, for making that list, allow me to react to it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you hit the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which should hopefully be sometime next week. So thank you again, and I hope to see you guys soon.